Kia ora, third time guest, Luke Taylor. Sorry, mate, you don't take the mantle of third timers. Cliff Harvey got in there before you.
How dare he?
Yeah, no, he's a good rooster, old Cliff. Mate, we said we probably wouldn't really talk about it, so we'll leave this weekend. What did you do last weekend?
What did I do last weekend? Oh, God, I can't remember what I did last weekend. You're asking a person with a brain injury.
I was about to say, or does that bring us straight into what we're going to talk about?
What did I do last weekend? I can't even tell you. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I think it was pretty chill. Yeah.
Mate, Friday night I got home and read your blog. Like we were in touch when you were over in Thailand. I don't know if you even remember talking to me or not. Who knows? But mate, I don't know if it was just for genuine effect or what, but you've even got some spelling mistakes and grammatical errors in that blog.
Oh, really?
It's a frightening story. 17 minutes of your life gone. Yeah, what the fuck is all I can say. Tell us how you get to Thailand and why the hell you go to Thailand to race, man.
So not quite Thailand, just around the corner. So Indonesia.
Sorry, mate.
Not much for muchness, really. Beautiful hot weather on nice sunny beaches. So pretty much why I went there was on the hunt for 70.3 world champ spot. So trying to get an early stab at it pretty much. The world champs next year is in Topol for the first time ever, which would be really cool. So, and it's on my birthday weekend as well. So I was like, rude not to. So I wanted to take an early stab at it, see if I could qualify to go, which meant I kind of had to pretty much podium finish my age group. And sadly, it didn't end up like that in the end. I was on target for it. I was on target to win my age group, but obviously that didn't happen.
Mate, doing a 70.3 for your birthday is some type of madness. Do you still live with Thomas Nabbs? He's some type of madman too, doing a marathon on his 30th birthday. But why is that an ideal birthday present for you, mate?
I'm a sucker for some pain. I love putting myself through the ringer, I guess. I suppose challenges for me is what really excites me. Is putting myself to the test.
Yeah. And if people go back to you were one of the early days on this podcast, and then we followed it up about episode 40 before I went to Australia, 42 or somewhere around there. You've had a lifetime of pain with those stretchy limbs, but talk us through. As you said, you're on track, you're leading your age group, you're going great guns, you're tracking it all, and then what happens?
Yeah, so pretty much 75 Ks into the ride of a 90K ride. I pretty much come around a corner, and I should mention I don't remember any of this. This has just been what has been told to me.
It's funny, but it's not. It's very serious, but it's
So I come flying around the corner, and then there's two speed bumps. And then the first speed bump, I apparently bunny hop, and then the second speed bump, my wheel mustn't have been on center. So I hit that and then just went flying over the handlebars. So after the race, I looked at my Garmin computer, and that's where I identified I was there for 17 minutes because, like I said, I don't remember that 17 minutes. And it also told me that I was going 42 Ks when I crashed as well. So wasn't going too slow. So 42 Ks directly onto my head, just back there. Yeah, and super lucky I got a really nice gyro helmet which has all the MIPs in it, which I think probably saved my life, to be honest. But yeah, like I said, I don't remember the crash. I don't remember being at the crash site. While I was at the crash site, there was a volunteer apparently helped me out. He's the guy that filled me in after the race with what actually happened. While we were there, apparently I was just repeating myself. I was like, "What happened? Tell me what happened." And I'd ask, "What happened?" straight back after. And then, "Is my bike okay?" Just kind of cycle through those questions. And he said at least 5 times each question. So obviously, naturally, he pulled in the doctor and was like, "This dude's screwed. There's no chance he's going to carry on." So I pulled the doctor in to pretty much stop me. But then the doctor was like, "If you want to go, you can go." And then I don't remember this, obviously, but to me, there would have been no thought process in that. It would have been straight back on my bike and going, which, to be honest, is the scariest thing of the whole situation, because if you know anything about concussions, having concussions and quick concession is the worst thing you can have. And then again, looking at my computer afterwards, I was going multiple, even though the 15Ks was a lot slower than it would have been, the 15Ks I left of the ride, I was going over 60Ks multiple times in that ride. So if I came off, and my bike's costing me about $4,000 to get fixed right now, so it's not in a good place.
Oh no, I was going to say how is Black Beauty, but shit.
Yeah, she's still getting fixed.
Oh no, not again. I guess, as you said, if you know something about concussion, there's, the return to play sort of says steady state cardio is quite good for the blood flow to the brain, but that's usually on a stationary bike, not hurtling around round on a broken bicycle.
Yeah, not ideal. No.
It's in your blog, I read you got to transition, and that's when things started to come to. Why did you not pull the pin then?
I was still pretty dazed and confused, and again, you got to remember, I don't think I lost that 17 minutes at the crash site.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember the last 15Ks of the bike, so in my eyes, it must have been doing all right for time. I just fell off and got back on, So obviously, when I crashed, I was pretty beaten up. I pulled my calf, so running wasn't that easy either. But yeah, I don't know. There was never a thought process in my head to pull out. It's just not how I'm inclined. So I just soldiered on and just kept going to see if I could still qualify and give it my best stab. But obviously, it was a lot of a harder ask than I realised at the time. Yeah.
Mate, what was in your race fuel? Anything that was helpful, or was just energy and fluid?
Oh, yeah. That's probably one thing that I'm extremely thankful was in there. So I had ketone esters. Tasty stuff. It's so delicious. But yeah, super powerful stuff, which is good. And then also had ketone salts as well, so some Prove It in the bottle, along with like a whole other stack of other stuff. To be honest, what's my stack? So there's
BCAAs or do you have any of them?
Yeah, BCAAs, creatine, L-theanine, L-glutamine. Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually had to stack my bottle, so my memory's not quite there because I haven't been training for the last 5 weeks. So
no, because you list them off, like even the creatine, that's something that your brain can actually utilise, and the ketones, of course, can straight across. And mate, I've talked about it a few times, my concussion. I don't know if it's better or worse, but knowing that I couldn't answer the questions and knowing that I was repeating myself is a scary freaking place. But for you, it's just being told that that's what you're up to. I don't know which one's worse, but yeah, half an hour after I smashed that back, Scat 5 passed, the doctor was looking at me like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Mate, I was disorientated 180 degrees, and I knew it, but I could not reorientate myself. I, like you, asked the score about 5 times and could not, get it to stick. Couldn't remember the amazing meal I'd made the night before. It was gone. Who had played last week? I was just like, far out. This sucks. And then and the scarier part was, I don't know if you had any of this, but I tried to have a shower because I obviously been playing rugby, and I was had no automatic movement. I had to consciously put soap on my hand, move my arm to my body, rub my arm, move my arm to rub the soap into my body. It was disgusting. And then trying to text, I had like aphasia, I think, so you can like think of the words, but you can't put them out into a text message. It was weird as hell.
For me, it was, so I finished the race, and yeah, so first of all, it was extremely hot as well.
Yeah.
I was pretty dazed and confused, still didn't really assess what was going on, so I didn't know the full extent of what had happened. People continued running past me like, "Are you okay?" and all that kind of stuff. And then got to the finish line, and then pretty much was just, I don't know if you saw the photos of me at the finish line, but head down like Bambi legs to a T. I pretty much walked straight over to this lady and was just like, medical, I need the medical tent, help. And then I was like, bike crash. And that's pretty much all I mumbled, and then pretty much collapsed right there and just lost complete control of all my movement. I just couldn't consciously move, could no longer walk, even lost control of my bladder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was in a state.
Mate, with those fuels, you would have been thankful that you didn't lose control of your bowels, because
Because it was MCT in there as well. That was the other thing.
Just on that, losing control of your bowels. We always seem to talk about bowel movements on our chats, but with the magnesium, what's the magnesium that's in the B Pure? Because as I put up on Instagram the other day, I read the Tools of Titans chapter, and Peter Attia said in there, magnesium oxide is what he takes. I was like, oh yeah, shit hot, that's not too bad. But physio from Tauranga sort of contacted me and said, mate, that's not really the best form, and it really, sucks on the water and doesn't really get into your system that well. And mate, I've been moving since starting that. What sort of magnesium were you taking?
I can't remember what's in the BP one exactly off the top of my head. But the one thing I know with magnesium is the different strains and for different things, right? You want to have a variety. You don't want to just. There is one strain that's actually particularly powerful for concussion, but I just can't remember off the top of my head right now.
It's like glycinate and malate seem to be the two best for getting into serum, and then obviously like Epsom salts and stuff are awesome for getting into tissue. But
I can't remember which one is off the top of my head, but I think it might be oxidate.
Oxide, yeah. Apparently, it's the most common. Person that I was talking to did say that he'd had a look at the BPO one. He was impressed with what they got. Same with the official. I think Ben gets that from the same place as Metagenics do, and it's a pretty quality formulation. We have that at work. BPO3, and you got on
in really good quality.
Yeah, you got onto that Melrose stuff, did you?
Yep. So I got the Melrose DHA as well with the MCT mix.
Yeah.
So I'm swigging that 3 times a day at the moment.
So how did you titrate that, or you were already keen for it?
What's that?
Did you titrate into that, or you already thought, I've been taking a good dose of BPO?
No, I'm fine with it. Yeah, like MC, because in talking to Cliff, actually, Cliff suggested having MCT 3 times a day, pretty much, along with DHA, and talked to him about that as well. And so it's pretty much on his recommendation, having 3 times a day, just to kind of keep the beta hydroxybutyrate levels up nice and high while dealing with concussion.
Yeah.
And on top of taking exogenous ketones daily as well, just trying to elevate those levels. So that was my protocol for the first 3 weeks in particular. I've still kind of persisted with it, to be honest. So I'm still on the I've actually got him right here. So that's kind of the primary protocol in a way. I got a whole bunch of supplements, so it's along with that, with like lion's mane. What else am I taking? A probiotic, because the other thing with TBI is you need to be aware of, your gut's just ruined.
That was something I didn't know about, man. Talk us through that. So is it that the vagus nerve sort of gets blocked and you don't get the immune response back, or why do you get this sort of sudden outrun of commensal bacteria?
Yeah, so just the gut-brain axis just gets disrupted pretty much, because the body's obviously trying to deal with the inflammation in the brain, so it's like shutting down all the other bodily processes.
Oh, no way, yeah.
So, it's one of the first things to go, and obviously that starts to get the kind of opening of the gut, and then just all the damage starts to happen. One of the most important things to do is to obviously get that gut in charge, because obviously we know with the gut-brain axis and the power that it has, it's got more neurons in the spinal cord, for God's sake. So it's powerful.
And you're already one that can't touch dairy and gluten anyway, so that was never an issue for those leaky gut lining anyway, was it?
Yeah, I've eliminated those about 4 or 5 years ago now, so not too bad. But it was still with that, like, I could straight away feel it. The gut was affected, so that's why I got onto that ASAP. It was a good probiotic, and try to do all the kind of gut healing protocols like, fasting and just making sure I'm really looking after all the gut health stuff. Getting
So,
right.
yeah, with your fasting, what are you doing? Like an intermittent, 1 meal a day? I saw you're trying to like minimize the load on your gut. So, how are you doing that to still maintain energy?
Yeah. So again, it's listening to our body as much as possible. I think the issue with people when it comes to fasting and like keto is such like, especially when they're already in a stress state, it can be
Yeah,
another stressor. So my key focus is not to make it another stressor, but to listen to the body, fast as long as I can. But when I'm hungry, eat.
yeah,
So not causing any stress, but just trying to, I can easily do 16, 18 hours, no issues. That's not a problem for me. So that's what I'm pretty much doing, 16, 18 hours, and then eating somewhat low carb, but when I need carbs, I have them. Just trying to listen to the system as much as possible. Yeah. And primarily, I take a cyclic keto approach. So if I'm going to carbohydrate, it's going to be more likely to be the night. So just
yeah,
backloading.
yeah. And so, what are your carb sources mostly, mate?
Kumara.
Yeah,
Yeah, what else would I go with? Yeah, I can't think. I suppose I don't have like. I have to think about it, to be honest. But predominantly kumara, maybe a bit of rice every now and then.
yeah,
Yeah. Depends on the meal, really.
yeah. Nice. Oh man. And so you flashed it up before. It's daylight savings day today, and I was telling you before we got started. I have not started daylight savings well. Tomorrow is supposed to be heart attack and car crash day, and just because everyone's insulin resistant, feeling like shit, their blood pressure, their blood glucose will be rising today. They'll probably eat a bit too much of the bad stuff today, and so I'm treating today pretty much like I've gone on a 12-hour flight, had 2 hours up in the middle of the night, and I was like, right, 6 o'clock, I've just got to get up because one, I want to be tired tonight. Two, I want to just try prime net scanning rhythm. I'm going to get up at the time tomorrow, no matter what, just to get back in order. Um, Tell us about what you've been seeing from your aura ring. Lots of
Yeah.
deep sleep, lots of REM still, but just feeling shit still. Is that right?
Yeah, bit of that. Yeah, pretty much. My sleep, I managed to really emphasize my sleep and doing much the same things you're talking about there is just really, because obviously with the TBI, the most important thing you can do for any kind of recovery from any kind of injury is sleep. It's just nothing comes close to it. It's the most rejuvenating thing. So yeah, really emphasize the sleep from day one. And the Aura Ring, has been extremely powerful in that context. Like, if anyone that you know that's got one, it just changes the whole conversation. I've got a lot of clients that now have them, and it just creates that focus on sleep from either the awareness that how bad it is or the awareness that you need to concentrate on it a little more. Like it's just a really cool tool, and it kind of gamifies it as well, which is always fun. You always want to see what did I get. So like the Friday night was like a 94, which was a good night's sleep. So obviously that's at 100%. So obviously as everything, life goes ups and downs. So you're going to have good nights, you're going to have bad nights, but it's just about trying to really focus on keeping that number as high as possible, and really focusing on what I've actually been playing around with me in particular is my REM sleep is quite low. That's the one I struggle with the most. So, but in saying that, I still usually get on probably average hour and a half of REM. So,
Is that normal or that's dropped?
that's my average. I'd ideally like it to be a little bit higher, so a bit more closer to that 2-hour mark. I find that kind of 1:45 to 2-hour mark is kind of like then I'm really rejuvenated and ready. But your REM is the kind of the sleep cycle that is affected through TBI as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, deep sleep's awesome. So like on Friday night, I had massive deep sleep. I think it was about 2 hours 30 of deep sleep, and then the REM still is there, but it's not quite where I would like it to be. But yeah, so like what I've identified with my REM is my REM sleep is actually I've changed my whole sleep schedule as a result of it, because my REM is generally like in the early hours of the morning, and normally I'd be up at like 5:30, 5:30. But I found I actually get I'm in my deepest REM at that stage. So if I get up at that time, I don't get my REM sleep.
Mhm.
So I need to be sleeping through to about 6:30. But if I wake up at 6:30, I'm getting good quality REM. So yeah, it's been interesting and just kind of shifting my sleep schedule out that extra half hour, like hour and a half hour.
That's so cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, going back to the stress and stuff, how's your HRV been? Is it low, or is it still showing that you're a fit and healthy bloke?
Well, I'm not feeling as fit and healthy now because it's been 5 weeks since my crash. So 5 weeks and I still can't swim, bike, or run. So that's extremely tough. So yeah, like it's higher than normal for sure. Like some see gradual increase just as
Yeah.
the fitness kind of increases, which is kind of it's sad to see, but that's all part of it. Biggest thing is I'm trying to regulate those stress levels as much as possible.
Yeah.
Probably more the resting heart rates on more of the increase in the HRV because I'm kind of regulating the HRV as much as possible. But yeah, there's definitely a trend there of slowly increasing, which is a bit sad.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm just
so, are you watching that after your float? Can you wear it in your float?
yeah. So I'll be floating after this actually. Yeah, so we're in the float, but I don't have the iPhone. I've only got the Android, so I can't do the moments thing that they've just brought
Oh,
out.
yep.
So I
That's
can't
what
actually
Keith
analyze the
Mulligan
float.
was talking to us about. Yeah, he's sort of saying how he was a big Wim Hofer in the morning, but it's quite a sympathetic load, so he's changed to following the moments app and doing more of a calm start to get going. That's a bugger that's only on iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming to Android. It's just taking time.
Yeah. And what about the meditation? Do you look back and see that improve as well?
Improved.
The HRV, does that improve through a period of meditation?
I always meditate daily. So like I said, I don't have the Moments app, so I can't do the small segments.
Okay.
Like it just analyzes my whole day and my sleep and all that. So
Yeah.
I can't actually break it down to how impactful was that meditation, how impactful was that flow.
Yeah.
Until that kind of comes onto the Android app. But yeah, I meditate there's been obviously an increase because nothing again that comes close to kind of controlling that mindset when it comes to something like a TBI. And just for unloading the brain, just opening up the brain. I do a lot of kind of mindfulness meditations, which is all about just increasing the kind of the space inside the brain. I find that's really helpful for just unloading it. Just feels like it gives it some breathing space,
Yeah. On the sort of sympathetic or autonomic axis, do you ever do meditation on your Shakti mat? I know you got the neck pillow as well. I've found that a great place to meditate because pretty much as soon as I get over the pain, that sympathetic response, then I can go real deep, real fast on a meditation. Have you found something similar?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Like I like doing that in the sun. I like laying down in front of the sun and then you just zone out. It's great. Yeah. I'm either doing it on the Shakti mat or most likely on my long foam roller, just as like a kind of a postural reset, just to open up through the chest and align the spine. That's how I do most of my meditation. But yeah, if the sun's good, I'll try and get the Shakti mat outside or, yeah.
No, so you're still doing morning and night with the ketones, doing half and half, or just sort of sipping away throughout the day, or what are you doing there?
Sipping throughout the day, mostly, depending on what's happening in the day, if I chuck a bit more in or not. But yeah, just depending on the day. Mostly morning and night.
Yeah. Have you found, like, obviously there's big frustration. Obviously you can't swim. You tried to swim the other day and it was a disaster. You can't run, can't bike or cycle. It's two different things. As we said, stationary bikes one thing, but cycling is different. There's obviously big frustration. How you found your emotions following that? Has there been a big change at all, or what are you noticing?
Like obviously as an athlete, and especially like an Ironman athlete, I'm used to training multiple hours per day.
Yeah.
So that it is quite a shift in that, going from training so much to not training at all. Well, I'm on the stationary bike now, but that's about it. Now I'm doing a lot more yoga. So I'm just doing a lot more of the accessory kind of stuff. So a lot more of the rejuvenated stuff that, often you'll put to the back burner a little bit too much. So kind of imbalance correction, doing a lot of yin-based yoga. I can't do much more than yin-based yoga because I've lost more balance. What else am I doing? Yeah, just a lot of stationary bike. But that's about, I tried the cross trainer the other day as well. That's a no-go.
Yeah, fuck.
I was hoping I could start replicating some running muscles. No, too much movement. So that's about, but yeah, it all comes down to mindset. And the way I'm trying to view this is it's an opportunity more than anything. I think a lot of people, when they have a TBI, they start to play the victim card. But for me, I actually, in doing yoga 2 weeks ago, that was actually what I expressed my gratitude as, was towards my actually having my crash
Yeah,
of all things, because I'm really grateful for this opportunity in the way that there's a lot of things I wanted to test in the TBI kind of realm. There's a lot of stuff I've done some research around, and there's no better way to learn than being your own test dummy, as you know I love to do.
yeah. I sympathise with that immensely. Like, you're going back to the ketone stuff. It was kind of one of the big, like, oh, that's really interesting. And then it happened, and I was like, right, let's do everything. Like, fish oil, ketones, and it was, and it's tough. N equals 1. It's tough. And like, especially with TBI, it's like, well, you might recover in half an hour anyway. And they're like, yeah, okay. But the difference was amazing. So yeah, I can sympathise with that.
That's where it's been quite interesting as well, because like I'm 5 weeks down the track now. Yeah, 5 weeks today actually. And last week I saw the sports doctor for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's where I got tested. And you would have thought with all my protocols that I had been doing, like I would have been a lot better than I was. So still in a really bad state. Like, of the 3 subtypes of concussion, post-concussion syndrome, I've got all 3.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember 5 simple words. I couldn't do all the numbers backwards. And that's when I was that again. This is weird, but that excited me, because I'm like, okay, I'm worse than I thought I was, but this gives me more of a opportunity to show growth from that. So even though it was terrible results, and the sports doctor was like, shit, that's not good. It's a platform to really work off and build into. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how I can take that and how I can incorporate these things. So I'm doing a lot just beyond, not just nutrition, but I'm doing quite an array of things. Got a few different specialists I'm working in with at the moment to kind of help with that. And some pretty cool things that I'm working on.
How was the conversation? Because I know with me, sort of the first appointment was all about, just doing the SCAT 5. It was part of the blue card protocol that rugby's doing now, which is excellent. And then the second appointment, I was sort of like went down the protocol, what I was doing, what I was implementing, and it just seemed a bit foreign to them. And even afterwards, I sort of, wanted to talk more with different people around, because it was so foreign. Wanted to talk with more people around, concussion and stuff, and then also integrating that into optometry, like developing that timing again, developing those cross patterns, and like I said, the balance and things like that. And it was amazing, the brush off. I kind of expected it, but amazing, the brush off. What was your experience? This is 2 years later. What's it like?
I was much the same. He was an awesome doctor. Don't get me wrong, but I think the biggest thing that really gutted me in the fact was I was really looking forward to having that conversation as well. Because obviously I know the literature, I've been looking into it, and there's quite a few different alternative treatments that I was looking down the route of. And when talking to him about them, he was just quick to say there was no research in them, and where I know that's not the fact. And it's very well evidence-based. And so I thought it was quite dogmatic in his approach. I would have preferred him to say, I don't know much about that, like that could work. Which he did do about one method, which he hadn't heard about, but then the other ones which he thought was the research wasn't there, which it kind of has come in the last couple of years. But it's nothing to him either. You can't expect a sports doctor to be up to date with all the TBI literature, because they take such a diverse range of cases of stuff, to be right up to date, that's near and impossible. But I would have just liked at least a bit more pragmatic approach, and just having a bit more of a conversation about it, and like a bit more of an open conversation. Oh yeah, that could work. And this is what I've come across in the past, but It's more like, yeah, there's no evidence to back that. I'm like, well, there is.
Yeah.
But again, who am I to say, right?
Yeah, not to put words in your mouth or anything like that, but it was one of those things. CBD, like that was the biggest thing I took away from Michael Lewis, our podcast, was that fish oil is great, but CBD changes the world in his perspective. And like I was looking it up the other day, totally irrelevant to you and I talking, but I was looking it up the other day, and so it's been cleared since 2017, and the rules are still very strict on it. So it's got to be 98% CBD oil. So it can only have like 2% of trace of anything else. There's only one company that makes it pharmaceutical grade with these criteria. And do you think I could find the name of this company? You'd be dreaming. And so, like, in theory, I can prescribe CBD oil to someone with a brain injury, but heck, what do I even write on a prescription? Oh, I'm almost tempted to just see, and I bet you the moment I did.
Prescription?
Yeah, well, this is not a optometrist patient relationship, unfortunately. But yeah, like shit, like I bet you the moment I did that, I'd get NZA on the phone being like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, treating someone for concussion." And like we had the case the other day where a young girl came in. And this is nothing that's in optometry's scope anywhere, but like she came in, she had weird visual symptoms, and I was like, "Did you have them last term?" And she's like, "No, this has just been this term. It was about the last week of the term." And I was like, "Well, what happened in the school holidays?" So have you had a head injury? She's like, "Oh, I was going down the hill on my scooter. I was like sitting on it and smashed my head into the stem of it." And I was like, "Well, you're like visually set up. This has never been a problem for you in the past, and all of a sudden you can't read a book and concentrate anymore." And I was like, "You should probably see our behavioural optometrist, which is part of the reason why I am where I am, because to get mentored by this guy. But up until then, going back to be pure, take 2 of these a day, so getting about 3 grams of DHA EPA, because that's the bare minimum you should be doing." Sure enough, she turned up to our behavioural optometrist and everything was sweet. Now, again, whether it was time and it healed, who would know? But it's just craziness. When like, was that one of the things that he said there's no evidence on? Because, like I say, last 2 years, there's shit ton.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to go down the route to CBD, but because I tried all these other ones, which I thought would be more accepted, like hyperbaric oxygen.
Oh yeah. Go see Lisa Tamati. She's got that set up. Yeah.
There was the other ones, TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Got my first podcaster, Lee McElwee, doing that treatment in Canada. Is like I keep hearing it come up on Rogan podcasts. And every time I message him, I'm like, "Is that stuff?"
Yeah, so these are kind of all the kind of systems I was looking at, kind of exploring with him, and because of like he was saying that they have got evidence, and I was like, I've seen some.
TMS, there's like had a full military grade study done.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, and this is what I'm talking about. So, like, I know these, like, hyperbaric oxygen is well known for its benefits of TBI.
Yeah. That's kind of why Dom has ketones investigated, is because as a conjunct to doing hyperbaric, so that you don't fry yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't even bother going down the route of CBD. I was also keen to ask for some modafinil as well, because that's been shown to obviously be beneficial for TBI, for that concentration.
So I don't even know what modafinil is.
Don't you? Okay. No. Modafinil is like the smart drug. You need prescription only, and I don't know if we could get in New Zealand, but yeah, I was interested to see if we could. You'll find a lot of CEOs in like America and stuff will be taking it. It's one of those kind of nootropics drugs, but prescription only.
Yeah. Speaking of nootropics, you've been smashing back some lion's mane. Is that right?
Yeah, lion's mane. Like I'm also having cordyceps and reishi and turkey tail as well, but lion's mane is what I'm doubling down on for the neural component.
Yeah. Not to upset Cliff, but what brand are you using?
No, it's life cycle. So,
yeah. Nice.
It's just so good, like the life cycle. I've tried a bit of everything. Tried the fork schematic and all that, which Cliff sells as well. But I just find the life cycle the best because it's easy to use, double extract, nice and strong. Chuck in your smoothie. just chuck it on your tongue, chuck in your water, like however you want to take it. It's easy as and good quality as well. They've got a really cool business. Just the way they run their business, pretty awesome.
So that's in a tincture, right? It comes in a dropper. Yeah, yeah. And I guess is it? Do you put it in coffee at all? Like that's one of the, not to bag Masons because it's a freaking awesome product too, but and for somatic, just that granularness. I don't know. It becomes an acquired taste, I guess. Whereas tincture is quite cool.
Because I'm a coffee snob, right? So in fact, to kind of sacrifice, because I also don't like to have too many coffees because of my adrenals.
Yeah,
so just buy some coffee for, like a mushroom coffee, which is good as well. But why can't I have the best of both worlds? Have a really good coffee and have my mushrooms on the side. Like they don't have to be together.
Yeah.
They're good for travel. Like really good when you're on the road and traveling. But for me, I don't like wrecking my coffee. That's the same as why I don't really have too many bulletproof coffees anymore either. I don't really need it. And I just love my coffee too much. I'd rather have everything separate.
Mate, there's a bit of parallel thinking going on there. I sort of have that sun's moved. That's way better. Before it was coming right on the side. We're getting a rainbow. I've sort of started because I have a reasonably big stovetop, and I'll do like my small a flat white cup once with butter, and then the next one, and it's to savor. as long as I haven't been distracted in the morning, I need to get my ass out the door and get to work. Mate, so how long have you been Tailored Fitness now, mate?
Well, Tailored Fitness kind of died a few years ago now, but Tailored Health and Performance.
Tailored Health and Performance. Sorry, mate. Yes.
That's fine. How long have we been now? God, 8 years?
Yeah.
Must be somewhere around there. Yeah, I'd say about 8 years. So getting on there.
and is there, scope for expansion? You guys do an awesome job with the niche. Like, how do you sort of balance those thoughts?
Yeah, there's some exciting opportunities coming about. I can't really talk about it right now, but there's some things in the works. Some big things coming. Put it that way. Can't talk about too much of them just yet, but stay tuned.
Yeah. So what was the feedback been from your clients? What's the sort of average client for you? Or are you still pretty diverse?
So I suppose my kind of primary market is the corporate market now. So I deal a lot with high performers looking for that competitive edge, whatever that edge may be. So it could be that more energy to be able to keep up the kids on the weekend. Or it could be towards the athletes that just want those 1%ers to really perform at their best. Like as an Ironman athlete, they may want to just really refine their performance. The same kind of principles apply, and it's just about identifying those underlying issues and building from the foundation up, and then layering on all those kind of performance, those 1%ers, depending on what they're working on. But I suppose what I really deal in is giving people more time. So it's taking things from a very efficient standpoint. And not just more time to have an extra hour in the day, but also lifespan as well, or health span, should I say? Also, so we're living longer, but we're not living a healthier life. So it's about living getting the health span up, not just the lifespan. Longevity.
Yeah. Well, let's just go for professional development at the moment. I've been sort of eyeing up this Precure sort of diabetic practice. Yeah, Grant Schofield. Also, I had a conversation with him when I was at Aussie about looking at going back to fasting, looking at whether or not we can do an intervention as optometrists, because there's some really cool stuff. Parallel thinking. There's some cool stuff out of Asia around two rat models that fasting reverses macular degeneration for, and then there's another model that it doesn't. So it's again, rats aren't humans, but there's.
Did you see what David Sinclair has done with the rats of the pretty much regenerating new eyes? Pretty much.
Yeah, bro. So that's what I said to. I had a guy the other day that the macula was gone, and he was like, "Oh, what can I do?" And I said, "Well, until we get stem cells, or what was David Sinclair having, like a viral implant to restart.
Antibiotic. I think it's antibiotic treatment, and then kick starts it.
Yeah, but so our toughest thing is when someone comes in with macular degeneration, and it's kind of that medium step. Like there's the age-related eye disease study, which just gone through 2 iterations, and that's basically where we get this sort of saying of fish screening gold, 3 servings a week of oily. It's all pretty standard, epidemiological sort of stuff. 3 servings a week of oily fish, green leafy vegetables, eggs, and raw nuts. And the reason why it's raw is processed seed oils with their 40 to 1, omega-6, omega-3 is just too inflammatory. You don't get that resolution. And at the retina, the pigmented epithelium, it's a turnover structure, and so it relies on rebuilding that macula up again and getting rid of the stuff. And so if you're not getting rid of the stuff, then you get accumulation, then you get death, then you get bleeding, then you get damage. And so that's where we're at with that. But again, you kind of look at, it was a study to make a supplement, and then the sort of risk ratios and odd ratios are, like most things at epidemiology, you're like, maybe helps. But then going back to that parallel thinking, I saw Megan Ramos, who was on here. She's my most listened to, most watched podcast. She put up briefly the other day that they had a patient come back to them after following the intensive dietary management. I don't know if that lady had diabetes or what, or just was keen on fasting and wanted some help, but they'd seen her ophthalmologist and no longer had macular degeneration. So I straight away messaged her. I was like, can you please write that up as a case study? Because they've been reversing diabetes for years, and it wasn't until this year that they finally wrote up a case study of three dudes, which again, this is where I always blow people down, to give them David Unwin advice of, cut your carbs out, that'll reverse diabetes. But, these 3 dudes, 20-year diabetic, insulin-dependent diabetics, and the longest it took them to reverse their diabetes and get off everything was 16 days. And I was like, man, what a waste of 20 years.
Oh, exactly.
But like Jason Fung says, I'm not a researcher. I don't have time to write this stuff up. We're just, good and bad. And then the university is not keen on studying it because what are you going to tell people? Don't eat stuff. That's not worth much money. Have you tried surfing?
No, I can't. Like the biggest thing at the moment is like I'm just really trying to compress my days. Like the afternoons, I'm wrecked every afternoon because I just worked to my capacity. So I've cut my hours down massively and just trying to stay away from the computer as much as possible. I found my blue blockers are really powerful and helping with just looking at screens continuously. But trying to minimize computer work as much as possible.
Do they have a low plus on them, or are they just straight 0?
I'm not sure.
It depends on what your power is, but if you look in the distance, is it blurry?
So these aren't proper prescription lenses. These are just blue blockers.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Nah. I get that question all the time. What's the best one? And it's like, well, 1, it depends on your script. 2, it depends on why you're using them. So like, and 3, know this, that again, the studies compared 20 non-mere symptom people without glasses and 20 non-symptom people with glasses, and they found no difference in dry eye scores. So whatever. But it would have been great if they'd chucked Oura rings on all of those people and saw sleep induction, because that's what I tell people is the purpose, especially for all these like photographers and artists and stuff and videographers.
That's when I wear them.
People watching Netflix.
Absolutely. Like nighttime they're on guaranteed, but during the day I might chuck them on if I'm like in front of the computer doing a bit of work, like writing that blog post and stuff. But I'm trying to minimize all that kind of cognitive tasks as much as possible. But like to your question about the what am I doing next, like an upskilling side of it. So I had my masters put on hold for this semester because I was supposed to be off to Malaysia right now for my Ironman.
Yeah.
But obviously since the crash, I've had full pin on that. I'll be going back to my masters next semester, but which was on actually Lions Mane.
Cool.
So go back to then, and yeah, I'm interested in what's happening with the whole pre-cure stuff and all the functional medicine side. It's a route that I will be looking down in the future for sure, because it's kind of what I do already. But it'd be good to get. There's just not much around in New Zealand in regards to that. Looking a lot offshore. Had a really cool course yesterday up at Be Pure headquarters. So that was like a breath workshop and some cold immersion. It was pretty insane. We did some holotropic breathing. I don't know if you've ever been there and done that, but it's hard to describe unless you've been there and done it. It is an experience. It's pretty much a trip without the drugs. So you're going to places like you're going back to your childhood. It's just crazy stuff.
Mate, I went back to my ancestors. It was weird. Yeah. So, like, our family came out here on a boat and got shipwrecked, and somehow that was what came in. I'm just trying to find the episode that I talk about it. It was like in the 80s. It was from about, when was that? April, just before we moved back. Yeah. Imagery that, like you said, without the trip, all the sort of DMT imagery that you hear and see, that came about. So, I don't know anything about that. So, but from what I've seen, heard, just listened to, that was kind of the place I was in. Was that a bit like you?
No. So that was my first experience of it. And absolutely fascinating, just what you can do with just your body, right? Like no substances at all. It's literally just you controlling your body, and it just shows how powerful our bodies are and how you can actually really manipulate them and take them to places that are just unbelievable. Like, so for me, I was supposed to be a twin, so I was a twin in the womb. So that's actually who I saw was my twin brother, and it was crazy stuff. And like pretty much what he was, so he spoke to me and was just saying, I know you're trying to live for both of us, you're going 100 miles an hour. You don't have to be 100 miles an hour all the time. Take some time, slow down. And I'll always be there with you, So it was pretty cool. It was an awesome experience, and there was a whole other roller coaster of other things, but that's the real big takeaway for me. It was seeing my twin, which is cool. Just knowing that I have him with me wherever I go,
Crazy, man. Was there any tears? I'll admit it, there was tears, and even when I do it in the mornings, I get to that third round of breath, and shit starts to get emotional.
Yeah. So we did some classic Wim Hof beforehand. This was like the full holotropic stuff. So my body went uncontrollably shaking. It was crazy, bro. And there's about 40 of us in this room at BPO headquarters doing it, and it was just really awesome. Just what was going on in the room, just the vulnerability of everybody was really cool. Like everybody was just happy to be with everyone and just expose themselves to just being extremely vulnerable. There was screaming, there was laughing, there was crying, there was we did this big circle afterwards and talked about each person's journey and experience, and we all went completely different places. So it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that's what I would reiterate to anybody that sees the likes of like Nigel Beach, who we're going to get on. I'm going up to Tauranga on Labour weekend, so I'm going to have a chat with him, and we'll talk about a few things, including Wim Hof. But if you see any like holotropic breath work or Wim Hof experiences, the beauty of it is the group, like the energy in the room, and that, because that was one of the tough things, you said your body starts to shake and you kind of feel real overwhelmed, like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. Oh, how am I going to, and like we were going for 5 rounds. I was like, how am I going to last for 5 rounds? And then when I blacked out and after the third round and like came to it, I was just like, oh my God, what am I even going to do? It was like fear.
So we did like the 4 rounds classic Wim Hof style, the first breathwork thing. And then the holotropic stuff, that's 45 minutes of super hyperventilating.
Yeah.
So that's even longer again, and you just go to this place. Hey, it's next level. Yeah, it was crazy.
And that's why you don't want to do that near water unless you got somebody watching you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that near water. I would have sucked.
Yeah. On that note, I'm going to get a couple of spear fishermen on in the coming weeks. They can talk about how to do that safely. Well, as safe as possible. It'd be awesome to get old, not David Trubridge. Shit, what's his son's name?
Talking about the free diver.
Yeah, bro. Anyway, Trubridge is his last name. He can swim really deep on one breath. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It'd be awesome to hear what he sort of goes through in that sort of space. Man, what a crazy thing. Yeah. Any sauna? Any like?
Yeah, so I haven't gone to the sauna yet, just because of my disorientation and all that kind of stuff. Like, I was doing a lot of Bikram yoga prior to going overseas, like, and a lot of sauna work because of the heat adaptation side. Because I was obviously racing like 38 degrees. So haven't ventured into it yet, but I'm considering it possibly this week. Just really easing back into it. Just because it's nice passive, but just real careful of the disorientation at the moment. I don't want to overdo it. So I've kept away from Bikram, and I might just ease into the sauna this week, maybe, seeing how I feel.
Yeah, because that's supposed to like drive up BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor, getting fasting, keeping ketones. That's the target.
Kind of the focus really of BDNF, yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Brain fertilizer.
Pretty much.
Oh man, so have you got any plans for Labour Weekend?
When's Labour Weekend?
2 weeks, 3 weeks. Last weekend of October, a month away.
Yeah, no, I do. Is that 11th?
Nah, 28th of October, something like that.
Because I got a retreat the weekend before. Then I thought that might have been Labour Weekend, but I've got something on that week.
What's it a retreat?
It's a business retreat. So with Robert Hollis, do you know Robert?
No.
So he was my business mentor. So he used to run Frontside Media and like one of the largest co-working spaces up in maybe New Zealand, Auckland, I don't know. But so he's pretty much invite only to 100 business people. And we're all going down to Queenstown, 5-star accommodation, the Hilton. It's going to be epic.
Sick. Maybe I do. I know the name Hollis, and when you're talking about that, like it seems like the same person I'm thinking of. But that's
quite big on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe I do know who you're talking about, but I suppose it's one of those things where you don't actually know the person; you just know the story and the idea around the person that you're like, I've had a brain injury too, man.
It's a great excuse for that.
Maybe. It's also a scary thought. What sparked the Oura ring? Was it not David Sinclair, Matt? Brain injury again. Sorry? Matthew Walker. Was that what got you on it?
No, he doesn't actually rate them.
Oh, yeah, he's a whipper or something like that. Like,
no, he just doesn't rate any. He just wants the gold standard. Because he's a classic scientist. But like I don't know if you saw the Harvard study that came out just recently.
Nah. I'm surprised that wasn't slammed down my throat by Peter Attia, but anyway, tell us about it. You can beat Peter Attia and Ben Greenfield to the punch. Okay. New Zealand's biohacker Luke Taylor.
So it was quite interesting. The study came out, and like obviously it's not 100% accurate. I think it was 90% accuracy around quantification of sleep. Mm-hmm. But then when you're coming to the sleep cycles is where it wasn't as accurate. So it was, I think, around 60 to 70% depending on the sleep stage, which to me, like as a personal sleep tracker it's good enough. Yeah. Like all you need to get is a ballpark figure. Like we're not looking at exact data right here. It's about identifying trends, and you can see the associations with things. Like say I have a couple beers or whatever, I'll see that in my aura, like it's sensitive enough to identify when you're doing things that aren't right.
Yeah.
So from my standpoint, like the study was saying that, it's not good enough and all that. But from my standpoint, I think it's great for personal track. Like something that is so invasive like this, that doesn't even look like a horrendous tracker, it's perfect. Nobody knows it's a tracker until I take it off and they see a little tech stuff inside it. But yeah, no, it's yeah. And the other thing that was quite interesting, if you do get one, the study was talking about that it wasn't as accurate on the ring finger, hence why I wear it on the index finger. Yes, that's quite interesting.
No, it's a goal, but like doing a CGM for a fortnight, that'd be lovely. But
I want a CGM as well. That's one thing I'd love. CGM. That's the next thing.
That'd be it. Yeah, it also would be a fun conversation with your GP. But you're not diabetic. Yeah, I know. Some of my family was. Yeah, I actually am so keen. Like, I'm not as good as you, man. I need to go in there and be like, right, I want blood work. I want to do insulin glucose tolerance. But what do you mean insulin tolerance? You just do it, would you? And
I want to.
You did it. Week. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd hate to check my blood glucose today. Like, I haven't eaten much sweet stuff, but man, what Matthew Walker say? Like 1 hour missing is like bad enough to make it severely insulin resistant. So like 3 hours, I'd hate to think.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're sleep deprived, so getting 6 hours less of sleep per night, 1 beer is the equivalent of 6 beers. Things like that. It like intensifies the scale so significantly.
Yeah,
it's scary.
Hearing that Joe Rogan episode when I had a 3-month-old that just like would not go to sleep, I was like, I'm gonna die. Anyway, mate, it's Alex's birthday and they just got back home. I've been on dad duty, getting Billy hopefully into this new rhythm. Daylight savings is a parent's worst nightmare, especially when they get up in the middle of the night. But yeah, I better shoot through. Thank you so much for coming on, especially because it was late notice. I was like, we might have a window and you've got a hell of a story to tell that needs to be heard and needs to be considered. So, man, cheers for coming on.
No worries.
What's been your biggest learning out of this, man?
Biggest learning? Well, putting everything into practice really was something I wanted to do. You don't know until N equals 1, right?
Yeah.
Like, I suppose from my perspective, like I've had concussions in the past, but I've never had the symptoms to this state. Like, I was a rugby player, as a snowboarder. I've had multiple concussions, but nothing like this. And I've never really given them the depth of understanding as I have now. I just didn't realize how debilitating they actually were.
Yeah.
And the feeling of just that blankness, you try to recall these names or numbers and you're just like, I don't know.
Mate, do you have all the, like, this is what I was getting before I talked to Cliff, and that's when he suggested that marrow stuff. Were you getting like, you could see everything around the topic, but what you were trying to say just was gone? Like, I had it heaps of times with Gary Torbs. I could remember like his book. I could remember like all the podcasts he's been on, who he's talked to, movies that he's on, but I could not remember his name. I could like see his face. It was so freaking annoying.
Occasionally I get things like that. It's just like the random things you kind of forget, like those things that you would just come second nature, that just don't come about. And it's just like, damn. And it doesn't come back. Sometimes you would normally get those thoughts back. These ones just don't come back.
Yeah, I was also having like trying to say macular degeneration every day was not fun, and reading books to Billy, I was feeling like some of my behavioural patients coming in couldn't track along the bloody page. I was like, well, this was 2 years ago. What's going on? But it's all come right again.
I suppose one of the coolest things that I'm really interested in moment on. Prior to this TBI, I was reading the book.
Brains Collide?
No, The Healing Power of the Brain or something along those lines.
Okay, right.
Really good book. And pretty much through that book, it actually dictated because I'm also dyslexic.
Right.
It pretty much dictated my story as being dyslexic at the end of the book. So if you ever do read it, I can send you the link to it. Awesome book. The Healing Power of the Brain is what it's called. But yeah, so I was pretty much looking down this method of treatment, which is called the Tomatis method. I don't know if you heard of Alfred Tomatis. So back in the day, he's pretty much an ear specialist and identified that it's actually the ear which is the cause of brain issues primarily, and that's where the dyslexia comes from. And he talks about the what do you call it? I can't remember what it is now. Like, it talks about like the zoom of your hearing. So like when you're in a crowded room, you know how you can zoom in and zoom out is because you've got these two muscles in your vestibular system, high frequency and low frequency. But when they don't have the muscle tone, they can't actually work. So yeah, I was pretty much looking down this route of going through this Tomatis method to kind of cure my dyslexia. And honestly, serendipity. I came back from my crash. I was in my garage fixing up my bike. This random lady walks past, never talked to her in my life, and we just ended up having a chat. She said, "Oh, what happened to the bike?" I told her about my crash, and she's like, "Oh wow, that's you know." We just had a yarn about it, and then she leaves, and then 5 minutes later she comes back with a business card. Gives me this business card for this lady, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I'll check it out." I didn't think much of it. I was like, I didn't know it was the Tomatis method or anything like that, and gave it a Google, and turns out she does this method. I was like, boom, that's perfect. And because this method is also powerful for TBI as well. So I'm like, you know, it's meant to be. You know, that's just so serendipity for that to kind of occur. So I've since been in conversations with her, and it turns out she does more than just the Tomatis method. She has a whole assessment protocol, which then takes into the visual stuff, which you'd probably be quite interested in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, she has these glasses which will track the way your eyes track when you're reading. So when you read, generally, say you're reading a novel, you'll have like, say, 3 points of you'll jump from, and your eyes scan down. And people that are having trouble interpreting or dyslexic will go backtrack, and the glasses that you wear can kind of identify that. And yeah, some pretty cool stuff, and just the assessment and then the kind of treatment protocols. So I'm really looking forward to diving into that and seeing how that works, and just again highlighting another alternative treatment for people as well. I think it'd be powerful for my dyslexia patients, and powerful for any TBI patients as well. Yeah,
I was going to. We were supposed to have a Syntonics conference. When was that? 2 months ago, but the dude who was taking it had fallen sick, so it didn't end up coming out. But yeah, again, when you're talking about getting outside, it's just all about that red, blue, green light. You know, different times where it's useful, and yeah. No, there's some.
I've been looking into that as well. That's something I've been looking into. One of the other the devices I asked about, they got put down.
Yeah, and like, I don't know if you saw my Instagram story the other week, but we had the interactive metronome, and it was funny with that. I was excellent for everything, but when I had it, you know, back to the ears, an auditory feedback mechanism, man, my standard error just like widened straight away, and I was like, there's that overload mechanism going on. And I was like, you know, it's like, man, no wonder if I'm in the zone on something and then I get interrupted, I'm just like, whoa, what's going on?
Exactly,
yeah. So, man, let's wrap it up, and I'll get you off the screen. And
yeah, you need to go and look after Alex being her birthday.
Yeah, mate. No, I'm ready to keep it on, eh? Yeah. Thanks so much, brother. I'll press pause, and we'll leave it there.